Welcome.
Welcome. Another story from r slash nosleep here by Abject Ordinary 9245 called The Monster of Odyssey Point.
Yeah, it seems cool. I was talking to him, and he said this was his first story he's posted. So I'm pretty sure he just posted a new one too that we'll end up doing. But this is his first one, and I'm excited to check him out and see how he is.
Hell yeah.
All right, Ben,
Not too long.
you take us away.
I will. Let me zoom in a little bit here. There we go. The Monster of Odyssey Point. I had a dream where I cut my hand on a seashell. I've lived in this small fishing village on the coast of Maine all of my life. All that time, I've just dreamed of being anywhere else. Somewhere warm, somewhere dry, somewhere the sun comes to visit once a day like it's supposed to. Instead, it looks like my lot is here, with the constant storms and the inescapable smell and taste of fish. More than college, more than the idea of a better life anywhere else. The thing I think I wanted more than anything in the world was a girlfriend.
Oh,
No, someone to talk to, someone to share bored thoughts with. That's when I saw her.
you don't want one of those, bro. I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know, man. Fuck.
Also, I was gonna say, um, isn't the thing based out of Maine? Like a lot of the Stephen King stuff's based out of Maine.
I have no idea. Do you want me to look that up?
Kind of.
It's not based in Maine. The original novel and subsequent film adaptations are set in a remote scientific research outpost in Antarctica. That makes sense because they were like they
Oh,
uncase it from ice.
not the thing. God damn it. I'm stupid. It. Not the thing. It.
Oh, is
I was yeah.
the It franchise? Nope.
God damn it.
Although stories are famously set in the fictional town of Derry. Oh no, yeah, you're right.
Okay,
Of
yeah, it
Derry,
was.
Maine,
I thought so. Fucking.
which is inspired by author Stephen King's real-life hometown of Bangor.
Okay,
Bangor.
I thought it was. I remember a lot of stuff being based in Maine, so
Yeah,
I wonder if that's gonna like play into this at all.
I don't know.
At the corner of the classroom I never looked back to was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen in my life. She had curly golden blonde hair that looked like it shimmered in the sun, like white sand. She had a cute round face and cheeks that turned pink when she smiled. But the most striking part of her was her eyes. Never in my life had I have ever imagined someone could have eyes so blue, like the clearest sky you've ever seen. But she did. If it's true what they say, that the eyes are the windows to the soul, here was perfect. Hers were perfect, not here. And she was looking at me, and she smiled.
Damn.
Damn.
It's funny just how quickly you can forget everything else in the world because of something like that. A look and a smile, and all my attention was hers. I was literally standing at the front of the class. I must have been giving a book report or something. I can't even remember what. All I know is I must have been standing up there like an idiot for some time because I started to hear the other kids laughing at something and the teacher told me, pretty aggressively, to sit back down. She must have told me so multiple times because only once the girl, that gorgeous girl, finally looked away with a bashful grin, I snapped back. And I heard that now my teacher was yelling at me. Who was this girl?
So wait, was he like standing, staring at her?
I guess they were like staring at each other and like he had like his little the music's playing in the background. He's like all like fucking locked in your eyes like that
I
that kind of
imagine,
moment.
I imagine that scene from The Mask. You know that scene where his jaw hits the floor, and it's just like,
Yeah, yeah. That's fucking great.
I sat near the front of my class, and there was no subtle way for me to look back at her. Even when I did, she was obscured by a sea of confusing, annoyed, awkward classmates. I had never seen her before. How had I never seen her? What was her name? Where in the world did she come from? What was I doing that made her smile? God, she had the sweetest smile. I couldn't get her out of my head for all of the rest of class. and I was the first one out of my seat when the bell rang, looking through everyone else for whatever she was, wherever she was. Nowhere.
He's a ghost. I walked out into the hall where everyone else let out for lunch. Nowhere. Then when I sat down for lunch at the corner of a long table over a plate of, you guessed it, fish, after looking in every nook and cranny in the school, there she was, sitting in her own corner of the table right in front of me. For a split second, I saw those eyes again, those shining crystals, before she looked away again with a flare of her golden curls. She'd been staring at me. I threw my legs over the cafeteria bench and brought my tray over to hers. I'd never been this forward with any girl I'd liked, but even when she was looking down at her untouched food, I could see her giggling. But I couldn't hear it. "Hey," I said, sitting down just across from her. "What's your name?"
She
"Oh,
stopped and looked up, her smile reduced to a grin. She wore a gray jacket with blue scarf wrapped and tucked around her neck, like a puffy bird. She used two fingers to make a V shape, gesturing to her neck. What does that mean? Then making
I
the
think she
cut
can't talk.
off. Sorry, what?
I think she can't talk."
Oh, like she's mute. Okay.
"Yeah,
Then making the cut off sign as she did, she voicelessly mouthed the words, I can't speak. Okay, well,
okay."
you can't speak? I repeated. What I thought she said, almost automatically not knowing what to say. She shook her head. Was she deaf? Well, I don't know. Wouldn't she be in some special school for that? I don't think she's riding the short bus for being deaf. She nodded, pointing to her ears, then to me. I can hear you. Her lips red, creeping into a smile. Then she waved excitedly. Hi.
I didn't know a lot of sign language, just a few that were the most intuitive. Some for family, mostly stuff I picked up from movies. The burden of understanding was fully on me. Still, since she could hear me, but with every hand gesture she silently mouthed the words to me. I imagined what her voice would possibly sound like, and conversation was fairly easy from there. She took a little piece of plastic fruit out of her coat pocket to tell me what her name was. Clementine. She brought her hands closer together, almost like she was trying to clap, but her hands never touched. Smaller. Shorten. Short for Clementine. Clem. Do you prefer to be called Clem? She nodded enthusiastically, and I told her what a beautiful name it was, but not before making a complete ass of myself and failing to guess it. Orange? Mandarin? Mandy? Please take me out back and shoot me. Yeah!
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, there's no way he got that in the first guess. Like,
Yeah.
and what was essentially a game of charades for dummies. I learned that she'd only been at the school for a few months and mostly communicated to teachers and other students through letters on note cards. She didn't have a phone and she didn't have very many friends, which shocked me. I like to think I was the first guy to come and talk to her, but I'd be kidding myself. I wonder if my parents might have known hers. But when I said, Mom, she shook her head. Huh? Like, does it mean like his mom's name?
Uh, I guess he was asking. I think he's asking about her mom.
Oh, okay. Okay. I said, I was wondering and I didn't press for more. Wait, what?
What about what? Sorry. I wondered if my parents might have known hers, but when I said mom, she shook her head. I think it's like if my parents knew her, and he said maybe he was just bringing up her mom. I don't know.
I don't know. I think maybe that needs like a little more clarification as to like
I don't
unless
know.
there's more I don't know.
Maybe we just keep reading.
Yeah, let's just keep reading.
Uh, what about your dad? What does he do? She had a look in her eyes, a grimace. She pointed to a painted portrait of George Washington on the wall of the cafeteria, indicating to me that his name was George. Then she held up one arm, flexing all of her fingers outward, twisting her wrist in an arc. Lighthouse. I swear I could almost hear it from her. He works in the lighthouse? The Odyssey Point lighthouse was the town's only claim to fame. Right at the very tip of the cape where the storms and tides hit the hardest. Miles north of the town proper, where everyone else lived. It must have been over 100 years old at this point. That's so cool, I said way too loudly.
She shrugged. Something in her whole demeanor. I know what it
Demeanor.
is. I know what it is. Demeanor.
I got it,
I got
God!
it. God. Soured for a minute. She hunched herself even further over the table and crossed her arms tight around her, even tugging a bit at her scarf. I don't think she liked it at home. Do you get a chance? Oh, hang on. Do you get the chance to get out at all? She shook her head. Oh, I'm sorry. Is he really strict? She looked up with heavy eyes and nodded slowly. I had no idea what to say. I felt the air itself change around the words as they came out of my mouth, and I was afraid I'd just blown my chances with the girl with his girl. This sorry, it's just a typo. With this girl completely. But like that, her eyes lit up again. She reached over the table and gave my shoulder a friendly shove that got my attention. She gestured to me, eyes widening, palms up and out, like she was asking for something. She pointed to me. Me? Yes. What about me?
Then she glared. Her head lobbed to the side and her hair bounced. I think if she could speak, she'd asked, "What about you, dingus?" She was giving me so many chances. I couldn't believe it. I told her a little about my home life, my favorite classes, what I liked to do to keep my sanity. I mean, pass the time. In this podunk town. My favorite theater out in the town where one of my friends works and sneaks the rest of us in for free. I told her I played offensive line on the football team and hoped to get into college on an athletic scholarship if my grades weren't enough. Even she looked surprised by that.
Yeah, don't let the glasses fool you. Four eyes can play sports too. We have a friend like that. I have
Who?
contacts, but just for that, ever since I heard how my grandma went blind, she fell asleep with hers in, and when she couldn't see in the morning, she tried getting them out herself. Instead of going to a doctor, yeah, I prefer glasses. Maybe I could have avoided telling her that. Shockingly, she didn't seem phased. Didn't react at all to that, really. She just pointed to me with her left hand, raising and lowering her right like a measuring tape, mouthing the words, "How tall are you?"
Uh,
Yeah, even the deaf ones, or not deaf,
even the fucking mute
even
one.
the mute ones have standards.
that's that's fucked.
That's funny.
Oh boy, here's a moment of truth. Do or die. How tall am I? 6 foot? Even 6'2" in my running shoes. She used her index and middle finger to run across the tabletop. Do you run? Yeah, I love to run. Whenever I can. Do you? She stared at me for a few seconds, pursing her lips. It's like she was holding in a laugh. That's when she looked over and reached down to the bench beside her. Pulling up the top part of a crutch, I buried my face so hard in my hands I think my head disappeared. Oh God, I'm so sorry. My shameful arms were opened up by her prying them apart, and I was met directly by her angel eyes and her bright as day smile. It's okay, I could almost hear her say. She paused, her hands still on my forearms. I swear I could feel her, feeling over my sleeves. Was this really happening? When she let go, she crossed her hands over her chest and made the V sign over her neck, mouthing, I love your voice. My God, this was happening. She was so into me, I couldn't believe it. And then I asked the next question. Hey Clem, do you have a boyfriend?
Oh god, that's so funny. I just like to imagine that like with the height thing, he's like, what? He's like, yeah, I'm like 6 foot,
I'm,
six feet.
yeah, the same thing went through my head. He's like, he's fucking lying.
It's hilarious. It's like the guy is like lying on your Tinder profile.
Oh God.
I'm actually
She's not bluffing.
I'm actually 6'4". Thank you very much.
They'll never know.
Yeah, sorry. We're getting sidetracked here.
It's fine, it's fine.
And like an overstepping parent, the bell rang to signal the end of lunch period. Neither of us had touched our fish, and my question hung in the air like my head hung under a guillotine. To have come so far so fast just to fumble at the 1 yard line. I mean, he didn't really fumble.
Yeah.
She knew exactly what she was doing. She swiveled herself to the other side of her bench with just her hands, picked up her crutches, and pushed herself upright. Okay, wait, hang on. Before I read this next part. So you're telling
Yeah.
me he couldn't find her leaving the room in crutches?
I Hey man, people are quick sometimes. Yeah, you many times I've lost Big Ben. He gets around, man.
I mean, like, I've been in crutches before, and I wasn't moving that fast. And they're pretty
That's
loud.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so he didn't notice. Okay, wait. So was that her first time being in that class?
I don't think so, because apparently he said earlier she'd been in the school for a few
Okay.
months.
How
She
did he
only
not notice somebody in crutches?
Don't worry about it. It's like it's part of
Okay.
the love interest
Okay.
or some shit.
Okay.
Eh,
Love is
Love at
Gimp.
first sight.
Love is Gimp.
What does that mean?
What I thought was her leaning over her lunch tray appeared to be an actual hunch in her back. Oh, God.
Oh.
Probably from having to walk so long on them. She looked right at me, grinning. She shook her head. I was so in. Cool.
Uh,
What
oh
is going
no,
on
no.
right now? I just feel like I'm
I
making jokes, but like they're like coming true as I'm reading it, and I'm like, oh God. I'm like,
as fuck.
I didn't mean it.
That's how it goes, bro. English Lit was my favorite class now. The only one I shared with Clem. And always right before lunch, every day. Every day for a week. It was impossible to get her out of my head. And hers was always the last face I'd imagine before going to sleep at night. When we'd walk down the hall together, it was almost like I was her bodyguard. She was such a tiny little thing, and I was built like a brick house. I really felt like she trusted me, wanted to be around me. I liked that.
There was nothing I loved more than talking to her. Even if I was doing all of the talking, she'd tell me what she could. It sounded like a like a shot at her. She'd tell me what she
Yeah.
could, but she'd get this look on her face whenever I go on and on for minutes on end about favorite movies or books or pastimes, all of which I said I'd love to share with her. I'd tell her how much I'd love to see her at one of my games. Sometime she'd always just nod and sigh and stare and smile. It's like she really liked listening to me. I just wish I could have listened to her voice too. So, is he like an athlete? Did I miss that?
Yeah, yeah. He said he plays frontline or something on the football team, and he wants to get into college for with a sports person thing. I don't know how that works.
Oh, okay. I completely missed that. I don't know how I missed
Yeah,
that.
it's fine. Ironically, there was a lot it seemed she didn't like to talk about anyway. Her crutches, her muteness, her parents, the lighthouse. Whenever I'd ask or start to ask about any of those things, she'd just shrug or look down or shake her head. She seemed really closed off, even for a town like this. Like the only two places she'd ever gone was school and back home. So many times I'd mentioned the things I'd love to do together, the places to go and that seemed to make her happy. Even if she'd always look down and shake her head and sigh, or and sign lighthouse.
I feel like she's a fish person, bro. I'm just gonna throw it out there
She's
right now. I
she
think
might just be a fish person.
I
You're
think
not
I
wrong.
think she's a fish person.
That'd be fucking crazy.
She says she doesn't like it there. That she's never allowed anywhere else than school. That she isn't allowed to have anyone visit, and that she doesn't even have any real friends at school to bring over. She says everyone's uneasy around her and treats her weird. Everyone but me. At the end of every day or 2 whole weeks, I'd wait with her on a bench outside the school for her dad to pick her up. I swear that old garbage car gave way every time that man stepped out of it. 6'4", at the very least stocky and bearded like he'd spent 6 months at sea, and always glaring daggers at me near his daughter.
Those first few days, okay. Maybe her dad's the monster of Odyssey Point.
Well,
You
maybe.
know,
I'm not sure.
maybe he's just like a
But
bad
like,
guy.
I feel like it's gonna be like a twist. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair. Those first few days, I'd wave and say hi, but he'd just wave her over, opening the passenger door for her. And the way she'd sullenly trudge over to that truck on her broken legs, with her head hanging down. The way she'd go limp like a rag doll when he lifted her, with no effort at all, into the seat. The way she'd look back at me through the car window, her eyes always turned from the bright blue as the sky to the kind of cloudy gray you'd see before a hurricane. Something was very wrong, but she could never tell me what. Uh-oh.
Oh. It was a Wednesday. Class was let out early for the mother of all tropical storms headed our way. Same as always, I was waiting outside with Clementine for her dad. Something was different, but I had no idea what. She was serious. She'd barely look at me all day. Even if the day was only half over, when it started to pour, I looked over to my car and asked her, "Would you go somewhere with me?" And her head snapped over to face me with such an intense glare I'd never seen before. The storm behind her eyes brewing at full force, telling me, no.
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 But it wasn't just anger or annoyance in her expression. There was something else underneath it all. Something I knew was fear. The rain came harder, and the truck pulled up. She looked back at it, white-knuckling her crutches. The fringes of her hair was damp and matted against the shoulders of her shirt, and she ran her fingers against the top of her blue scarf. Covering her gills! The door to the truck opened and her father stepped out. I couldn't take it anymore, and I grabbed her by the shoulders to face me. "Clementine, please tell me what's wrong." She breathed so heavily, searching my eyes for something. With her arms, she leapt up to my shoulders, tackling me into a hug. Her head reached onto my shoulder, and her legs and crutches dangled off the wet ground. I could hear her sobbing over the pattering raindrops. I couldn't help but hug her back. Then I heard her dad yelling, "Boy, take your hands off my little girl!" Her hands gripped tighter like a vice around my back as she clung to me, the rain pouring down us both. Then I felt a warm breath of air ghost against my ear, and a pained, raspy voice whisper, "Follow me home." So it's definitely her dad. Her dad, like, fucking abuses her, bro.
Yeah, I'm thinking that because like the scarf and all that, but like my intuition is telling me other things.
Fish person.
We'll go into it later because like I don't want to like ruin it. So like we'll go into it
Okay,
later.
that's fair.
And I might even be completely wrong. I don't know. It echoed in my mind, and I can barely believe I heard it at all. No, I couldn't have. She was mute, wasn't she? Why would she lie about that? I mean, mute people can still talk, right? Like some of them.
Yeah,
It's just
it's
like it
some of it's like a
sounds weird.
mental thing. Yeah.
Cause I think our buddies' girlfriends like that.
Oh yeah, that's true.
It didn't even sound like a young girl's voice. What does that mean? That was it. No, it did, but it also sounded like how sandpaper feels across your palms. You just bashing her. It sounded like a
Damn,
girl and a woman and the death rattle of an old crone at all at the same time.
that's fucked up.
God damn. It reverberated and fed back like three or four women speaking the same three words, half a second apart from each other. How was that possible? What was that? And what was at home? Oh.
Okay.
No, let me. I got
I
this.
was
I got this. Let me read this
okay.
part.
Okay, you
So
get this. You get this.
I was stunned as she climbed off me, adjusting herself in her crutches. Then she coughed hard and heavy into her scarf. I couldn't see drops of blood drooling from the corners of her lips, and I could. Oh, he said I could. And
Yeah.
she wiped it with her sleeve. The look of seriousness never leaving her eyes. Suddenly, the massive form of her father came between us, pointing a finger the size of a sausage in my face and commanding in a low, gravelly voice, "Keep your hands off my daughter, you little shit."
Yeah.
Sir, I think she's bleeding. He looked over the shoulder of his fisherman's coat to her, waiting passively by her closed car door, then back at me. "You stay the fuck away from her, you hear?"
That's fucking great. He wasted no time getting into his truck and driving off. So neither did I. Even under the darkened sky and through the train of cars and trucks filing out of the lot, I kept my eyes locked on his. The rusted red paint, the empty bed, the rattling tires. The license plate 336 SRN. Through stoplights and intersections, I almost lost that bucket of bolts so many times. Till I'd see that browning red, that plate turning down a parallel side street. The radio was blaring a song I don't remember, and my phone was buzzing in the passenger seat. 336 SRN, red, rusted. Within 30 minutes, it was just him and me on a long, winding road. I turned off my headlights before that so he couldn't see me, following the red of his tail lights into the dark. The wind and the rain came harder, and the lightning flashed so frequently I never truly lost sight of the road. Even when those two red lights got closer together, the one in the middle distant what? Closer to the one in the middle distance. The sea wind rocked my car like a baby's cradle, and cold air blew from the AC, chilling my damp clothes. My eyes never left those red lights. It was a red-eyed monster in the dark, slithering along the coast, with my clementine in its jaws.
Wait, what? Wait, what?
What?
Oh, is he talking about the car? Yeah, he's describing the car.
Yeah.
Oh,
Uh.
okay. I thought he was like insinuating it was a creature. I was like, wait, what? Like, what did just
No.
happen?
Yeah. I'll read this
Okay.
because it's a shorter one. Before I knew it, the road was running out, and those red eyes had stopped fading into the distance. They'd stopped a ways in front of me and blinked away. Alongside the lightning, the horizon slowly and rhythmically lit up a bright yellow light, like a second sun, swiveling, emanating from a single point in the distance. Odyssey Point.
I pulled off the road, away from the sheer cliffside to the right of me. I couldn't let him see me, and I could walk the rest of the way. The only way was forward, illuminated by the distant signal. I ran, my shoes soaking with rainwater, adding weight to my steps. But I didn't slow me down. The entire way, there was only Clem's words echoing in my mind. Follow me. Follow me. Follow me home. There was a gurgling sound to it that I couldn't purge, and the blood that came from her mouth just from speaking the three words. What was he doing to her? How could he do that? I tried to answer my questions for myself, but I couldn't. In time, I hoped I could. But right now, that didn't matter. All that mattered now was the lighthouse. I took solace in knowing there was somewhere else for him to go.
Nowhere.
So, what?
You took solace in knowing
Did I,
there's nowhere else for him to go.
did I say somewhere?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. Nowhere else for him to go.
I found his pickup parked on the edge of the last drivable piece of land before all the ground leading to Odyssey Point was broken up into heavy rock fault. Nearly a mile stretch of long, flat boulders jutting out of the peninsula made a pathway of stepstones straight into the light. As the fierce golden beam passed overhead, I saw him, stepping the path, her in his arms, and I followed. With every step, every half jump onto the rocks, I swear I could almost feel the ground shifting beneath me, like walking onto a pack of ice drifting together by sheer proximity. The rising tide and the unceasing rain made the slanted faces slick un with even uneven step. I think it's every slick with every uneven step I took. Praying for balance, I felt my heartbeat pound from my throat to my stomach with every wrong, slippery step from one jagged boulder to the next. Then, to be rocked by the force of the waves below, the yellow light from the middle distant tower circled clockwise, shining itself onto the rock path every 15 seconds or so. It glared through my glasses, refracting on the speckles of rain trickling down the lenses. My only light, save for the white flashes before roaring thunderclaps. My only way to really see whether my foot would fall on rock or slip into a crevice rising with the tide.
I tapped out to find where the edges were, where the next solid surface was. I could start to see the silhouette of the house built on a small grassy isle. At the end of this broken land bridge, I could see the towering building that gave the cap. That's like, yeah, cap its name.
Hey,
Cape?
yeah.
God damn it, bro. Cape. Its name. At least it should have. At least it should have. The closer I got to it, the higher and higher the light shined. The less I could believe how tall the lighthouse was. Then the seconds passed, and the light, like some giant cyclops eye, turned its gaze back on me, and I saw him. just sorry, my brain just went
Yeah.
somewhere. George's massive frame, even far enough ahead of me, stark black against the blaring lumens. Taking wide, confident steps over the rain-slicked rocks, he was a much climbing as he was walking, weathering the heavy rain in front of him and turning his back to brace against every crashing wave that battered his right side. All the while carrying he still had her.
Oh,
Clementine. I could see her hair clumped together in ropes that dripped with water. His arm hanged limp, and
like
he
her.
had her. Oh
I think
yeah,
it's her
okay,
arm. Yeah.
yeah, it's a typo. Her arm hanging limp, and her head slumped on her shoulder. She looked dead as he held her, unmoving, even when the thunder and the waves caused me to jolt. What was he doing to her? Follow. I followed. Well, every light I'd see the path get shorter, the lighthouse climbed higher in the blackened sky, and the distance between me and him got ever so slightly closer. I couldn't believe how close it all seemed. Okay. And then I felt it. As I was about to step from one rock to the next, cut in half by a foaming chasm?
Yep.
A foaming chasm of water. This unbelievably icy cold feeling came into my mind. No, it's like it exploded in shards of icy glass from somewhere in my mind, slicing, ripping through all my thoughts, until only one I could hear was down.
And, as if all my instincts shocked me into thinking a live grenade was thrown overhead, I dove down, off to the side, into nothing, into the crevice, sliding my hand across the rough edge into a pocket that clung to with all that I clung to with all 5 fingers, thanking God I could breathe again before the fall took me into the sea. The arm of my glasses hung from my right ear, swaying the more water filled the lens. Swaying the
Swaying the
more.
more water filled my lenses.
Okay.
Okay.
The light passed overhead, and the raindrops looked like blurred tongues of fire. The cold water dripped in my face as I looked up, streaming down the rock as my feet slipped against the wall face, and dangling beneath me, licked by the passing seawater. I wondered for a second as I felt my full weight tug against my arm. Why did I get down? What was I doing? Through a narrow crack in the wall, looking straight out in front of me, I could see why. He was there, standing stock still in the fleeting light, Clem's arm hanging limp at his side. Looking back, looking for me, while the rest of his body stood like a statue. The edges of him that had been so sharp before now blended into the dark, like he was a living shadow. Clem's arms and legs dangling at his sides made him look like some kind of spider creature with 4 extra limbs. Her head was like a fifth, severed stump poking out of his shoulder.
Hmm.
I saw the slow turn of his head as the light turned its own gaze away again. There he was, still, looking through the darkness. Somehow, I felt if I moved, he could still see me. I knew he could. I worked my other hand into the crack, into the water, pouring through for one other surface to grab. The ice-cold water below rose up again, wrapping around my shoes. I could barely feel my toes anymore. While I held as still as I could, holding my breath, praying for my glasses to stay balanced on my ear, I thanked God that they weren't on my face, reflecting the glare, revealing where I was. I knew if he saw me, I was dead.
I waited, hanging on the ledge, hoping he was gone. Seconds passed and the light came back again. And there he was, unmoved, looking, but his face was turned closer to where I hid, desperately, shaking to force my arms to hold myself up. As the light disappeared, the second time, I could see the slightest movement of his shoulder, as if to turn around. Then, all was dark again. I could feel something in the crack where my right hand was, something smooth and rigid, almost like porcelain. I could feel it rub against the salt under my finger. What? The salt under my fingernails. Lightning
Huh.
struck directly overhead, and the crack of thunder made me cling closer, harder to the wall. Even as I felt my fingers start to slip from the pocket, seconds, the light came, and he was gone. I gripped hard into the pocket and harder into the crack in the boulder, my fingers digging into the rock and combing into them. Combing into them, whatever it was hidden in there, using my shoulder to hold my glasses to my cheek. I pulled myself up and over as the rain came down, and rolled lazily on my back, breathing in hard the cold, wet air. I laughed, and my eyes and nostrils stung. My face was soaked with water. I couldn't tell if I cried. Didn't feel as heroic if I did. Then I realized I still had whatever it was stuck in the rock. Oh, okay. Turning over in my right hand, smooth on one side, rough on the other, hard, sharp along one edge. I held it up in front of me in the pitch black darkness, waiting for the light to reveal. It was a seashell, a long, jagged piece of broken conch. The part of the inside where the mollusk had been was like silver, reflecting the lantern light. I stood up carefully, shoving it into my jacket pocket for luck.
Hmm. When I got my bearings, I finally saw how close I actually was. The silhouette of the man and his daughter had vanished, and in its place, in front of me, a pair of constant lights glinting out from the caretaker's house. I could almost feel myself about to get knocked over by the winds, the waves, whatever else, but I followed. Just a few more steps, I could finally feel solid soil. Grass beneath my rain-soaked shoes. The only thing ahead of me was the lighthouse. It was a massive, towering structure. White brick like the single-story house built some 20 yards away. I crept up to see. It was the window beside the front door. A shadow passed on the inside, and I crouched, hugging the side of the house. I looked through at what had to be the kitchen. A stovetop with boiling pots, fish on the cutting board, an axe on the wall underneath a pair of crossed albatross wings. On the table was the longest, thickest fishtail I've ever seen, pouring over the side and coiling onto the floor, with green and silver scales. I moved along the corner of the window to see further inside. A dark hallway in front of the door, and a corridor just out of sight. Then, out of the shadows, he emerged, with steps I could feel against the wall. I ducked under the window, wishing I could hear anything. Just rain and thunder. Clem, where are you? I wanted to go inside or look through the other dark windows of the house to find where she was, but I couldn't let him out of my sight. He was at the stove preparing fish meat, wearing denim overalls and a white shirt. On his belt was a ring of a dozen keys, and I knew one of them was the key to wherever he was keeping Clem, but how to get it.
After a minute, he turned and disappeared into the corridor, again on the other side of the house, crouching below the light from the window. I followed. I was a second away from rounding the corner of the house until I heard the distant sound of a door to the outside creak open and closed. I jumped back, out of sight, hearing the key latch, and the lighting came again to show him. Was it, yeah, trundling?
Trundling.
What is that?
I don't know. I feel like it's like trudging mixed with like it's some sort of like
Hmm.
moving forward at a
Okay.
good speed.
Trundling
Yeah.
toward the lighthouse. Part of me wanted to follow him, but another part of me knew that he came into the house with Clem. She was still inside. I knew she was. I went back to the kitchen window, bracing my elbow and breaking the glass. Well, he's gonna hear that. Covering my knuckles with my sleeve before knocking out the loose shards immediately. I was stuck with the warmth of the house. Struck? Yeah, struck with the warmth of the house. And the smell of the cooking fish. But something else too, like red meat. It smelled delicious. Follow. Right. I didn't have much time, and the walls seemed closer together by the second. as I didn't know where was where. There was no hiding the broken window when he was coming back, but I just had to find her. I yelled out, Clementine! Clem! If you can hear me, give me a sign. Where are you? A thud sounded from the other side of the house. Across the corridor, I ran across the dark walls, feeling for a light switch. But what I found was another door, with a handle that wouldn't turn. Clem, are you here? Two knocks from the other side, and relief washed over me, as well as disgust. He was keeping her here, trapped against her will. I was going to save her. I'm going to get you out, okay? Just stay put. Axe.
Yeah.
Axe? Axe?
Yeah, X.
Yeah. Axe. The same raspy echo from earlier erupted from behind the door, the sound of it making me freeze. Lighthouse.
My next clear memory. I was in front of the fire axe on the kitchen wall, pulling it from its holder. I ran to and out the I ran to and out the door on the side of the house, overpowered with adrenaline. I threw open the door to first store to first store room of the light. I threw open the door outside of the I threw open the door to the first storeroom of the lighthouse, hot and stuffy, with only a lamplight. I saw Clem's father, standing still, holding a pitcher of water, looking down at something on the other side of the room. I smelled burning oil, and I looked to see another old iron stove at the foot of the stairs, and a chain leading to the shackles of a scared woman lying on the ground. Her arms were so thin I could barely believe they could fit in her chains. She had a collar on her neck that was brass or bronze. I couldn't tell which. That dug into her skin. She was gaunt and pale, but beautiful, with Clem's long blonde hair. But the more I looked, the more I saw. Her torso and hips led into a long, slithering tail of green and silver scales, flapping limply over a mattress on the floor, and I couldn't believe my eyes. For the briefest moment, hers met mine, in a shimmering blue shine I'd only seen from Clementine. They were painted, calling for help, but confused and concerned, widened at the sight of me. Damn, they are fish people.
I fucking knew it.
Maybe, you think Clem is like the
I don't want
mermaid's
to.
daughter?
I know exactly what she is, so I'm not gonna spoil it. I'll go into it later. That's when he turned to face me, rage in his eyes. I lifted the axe over my head, but his massive arms swung behind him, dousing me, breaking my focus as he crashed into me against the wall. With both arms, I clung onto the axe. That's not how you spell axe, right?
Uh, I, I guess it works.
Okay.
Axes, A-X-E
Yeah, I thought
usually.
so. As hard as I could, as he tried time and again, to tear it away from me, knocking me over the shelves and boxing that lined the wall. I'd lost the element of surprise, and he was stronger than me, more prepared. God damn it! 1 second. The intensity I saw in his eyes was so clear as Clem's as he. Oh my god. Was as clear as Clem's as he ripped at the axe with one hand and pinned me by the neck to the wall with the other. As my eyes started to roll, I saw one more shelf yet to fall. I had to. I let slip one arm to throw off the wooden panel, as half a dozen full tin cans fell onto the back of his head and shoulders. Just enough to daze him, to escape his grasp, but I had to let go of the axe. I ran for the door, but in a second he was there, splintering where my hand was only an inch away from the handle. He swung again, and the weight I threw behind my dodge knocked me backwards, towards the stairs. I could have sworn it was the force of the air, to the side of me. I heard the tightening of steel chain and the ear-piercing shriek of God, I don't know. It was like the song of a whale and the call of a gull in the highest sea wind you ever hear roaring through a canyon. It was the loudest sound I have ever heard, and it felt like it lasted.
Only seconds later, I saw George cupping one of his ears, still holding the axe in the other. I couldn't hear anything over the ringing sound that remained, but I saw the woman holding herself on the ground, clutching her collar, coughing blood onto the floor. I looked up to see him ready to bring the axe down hard and fast, and I ran up the stairs. The heat and humidity that intensified with every step up the lighthouse made a fog stick to my glasses, and my throat burned as the ringing in my ears slowly died down. Behind me, coming up, I could start to hear him screaming, "You're not gonna take them from me!" The higher I climbed those steps in the dark, what must have been 400 or 500, the louder the thunder got, as well as George's screams, and then a light pierced through the black as as the stairs led up to a segmented hatch. On the other side was a light like the yellow sun, the lantern room. It was a simple, old-fashioned knob that thankfully gave way as George's thunderous steps came the closest they could. I lifted myself through, every muscle in my body on utter fire. The lantern from this close, closer than any man should be without protective goggles, was blinding white. Even when I covered my eyes with my hands, I could see the black and red of the bones and blood inside. Damn.
Damn. When George came through, it was just as he'd been when I followed him here. A black silhouette as the light passed behind him. The after effect of his shadow would flash in my eyes whenever I'd look away. The heat that radiated from the lantern was like a bonfire as the man moved around the light to me. He swung the axe, shattering one of the panels that made the circular gallery, and I ran for the other side of the light. Then he swung again, embedding the axe blades into the blaring lantern itself, and he cursed as he failed to unloosen his weapon from the massive oh my god, trapping shards of burning glass. Now was my chance. As the lantern moved, forcing him to move with it, I started running with all my might, all my weight onto him. I moved my head and as my shoulder collided with his center of gravity, my arms hooking around his bended.
Uh,
I'm gonna
well, I
say
lost
I'm gonna
exactly
say
where.
bent knees. I had him.
Oh yeah.
Together we crashed through another panel and out onto the deck, his back smashing against the iron rail. I felt the cold rain on the back of my neck, again, as I held onto his legs, desperately trying to lift him up over the side. Then I felt the searing pain of his elbow crashing hard into my back, breaking my focus. His other hand was on my neck, squeezing, forcing me off as my fingers scratched at the denim for any hold anymore. And like that, he was holding me over the side, my legs and left arm clinging to the wet rail, as all I could see was the nothingness hanging below me, and his black silhouette leaning out of the lantern light.
I struggled, but the more I did, the more I felt my legs slipping, the weight falling over as he was all that was holding me over the abyss below the lighthouse. At 200 or 300 feet in this storm, I couldn't even begin to see the ground, but I would feel it soon. I felt that fire in my chest and under the skin of my face whenever I'd hold my breath too long, and my body would scream for mercy. George's grip only tightened. The hand of mine that tried to loosen his spasmed and fell limp to my side, and the next thing I felt was his hot breath against my face. "I told you to stay away." I was fading, giving up. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't fight anymore, and then I felt it. Smooth, sharp, poking out of my jacket pocket, with all the last of what I had in me. I grasped at the broken piece of my seashell, and drove the jagged edge into his thick neck. I felt the warmth of his blood pour out onto the back of my hand as my palm stung. His grip loosened, and my other arm grabbed onto his shoulder. I gasped, breathing in as much water as air. My knee brushed against the key ring on his belt. The second my feet touched the deck, I turned back, holding him steady as I took the keys. Then I used my full weight to push him over. Gurgling, clutching at his bleeding neck, there was nothing he could do but fall. I watched as he disappeared into the dark. I didn't see or hear the impact, much as I wanted to. Even when the lightning flashed seconds later, I didn't see his body on the rocks, on the island shore, just the black of crashing waves, now foaming red. As the rain washed away George's blood from my right hand, I realized just how tightly I was grasping at that silver-lined shell that was in my hand. The long, sharp edge that ran along where I stabbed him had also cut a gash along my palm that stung with every small movement of my fingers, and the steady stream of blood that seeped through was slowly washed out by the rain. I'd have to worry about that later.
I walked down the length of the god-forsaken lighthouse, rubbing my neck and counting the keys. 12. Most were rust brown, some black, but one I'm pretty sure was bronze. But the time I finally got down to the first storeroom, with the woman chained to the stove, she had a look of suspicious relief in her eyes as she saw me with the keys. She revealed her neck to me and showed me where to open it. When I did, the mechanism split in half down the middle, revealing 6 bronze spikes that went inward, cutting into her neck. Oh. Her blood was thin and translucent as she clutched her wounds. Gasping for air, she pointed to the water pitcher George had dropped into a faucet on the wall. I filled it, bringing it over to her, following her lead to pour the cold water over her wounds, which healed in seconds, within a few
Oh,
tries. I was able to undo her shackles, too. Thank you, she spoke. Her voice was clear as day and gentle as a breeze. The echoes of young and old, as if she were many voices in one, still remained, but calmer, and I felt so warm in her words. You're welcome. My response came automatically. Where is my daughter? In an instant, I was in the house, in the dark corridor, unlocking a bedroom door. Inside was Clementine, sitting on her bed. But she wasn't the same. Under the layers of clothes she wore to school, I saw tiny packs of feathers peeking out from under the flesh of her forearms. The hunch of her back were the wings of a gigantic,
gigantic.
Jesus, gigantic seabird that were nearly the length of the wall. No doubt, broken in several places to mostly fit into her clothes. And her legs were broken as well, hanging from the side of her bed. Stick thin with orange scales and webbed feet. I couldn't. I would have been disgusted, but her eyes shined bright as ever as she looked up at me, gesturing to her bronze collar. I took hers off too and poured water over the wounds, even if I couldn't bring myself to stand so close. Don't be afraid. And I wasn't. Oh my god, I couldn't be. She was beautiful. How could I ever be? And don't worry about us. We healed every day, no matter what he did. And we're free now because of you. But now you have to forget about us. Damn.
Uh-oh.
No, I tried to say. No.
Yeah. No.
No.
I don't want it.
No, I tried to say, but my mouth wouldn't move. I couldn't move. I couldn't think or feel anything else but no. No. Please. I don't want to forget. Clem, please don't make me forget. Forget.
Forget.
Forget. I heard it in my mind, echoing over and over. No, no, I didn't want to. We were friends, weren't we? Forget.
Forget.
I didn't. She was so nice. What? What was her name? I
Oh no.
know. I knew it. It was so important. Forget us and go home. I had a dream where I cut my hand on a seashell, but today I woke up with a scar.
That's sick.
That's pretty cool.
That was very good.
I did
Honestly, I
like that
enjoyed
story
that.
a lot. That was super cool.
Some of the grammar though, like that, just needs a little bit of work, in my
I
opinion.
I have, yeah. So there's a couple things I want to say. Um, the start, I feel like the start was super solid. Like the start, we weren't having any problems really reading it. It was
Yeah.
from the middle, like the middle of the story, like where it started to kind of pick up to the end. Had I it just felt kind of rushed. Like I feel like he kind of rushed. Well, that has nothing
Fair.
to do. Like the writing was still great. Like I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I just feel like he didn't look over some of the parts.
Yeah. Just like rush to get it
There's
finished.
also, yeah, I think he needs to maybe come back and just change some stuff. But I still liked it. It was just felt a little rushed to me.
That's fair.
Also, there's a couple parts at the start I think you need to flush out a little more, like the part with her mom, like where you said mom, like the male character, because that just felt weird. Like it just kind
Oh
of felt like it
yeah,
was out of nowhere. Like there was no build up to that. I just said mom, so I was kind of confused.
yeah.
Also, I think you gave away a little too much too early. But maybe
Fair.
for me, anyways, I felt as soon as you said the thing about the eyes, like I kind of like put two and two together for me because sirens are alluring creatures, and like clearly we're reading a story about like some sort of sea thing because it says a monster at Odyssey Point, and we start reading it, and it says fishing village right at the start,
Lighthouse. Yeah.
lighthouse, and then you say she has shiny eyes, and she's like he's kind of drawn to her in a sense.
Oh
Sirens
yeah, he
draw
couldn't get her
people.
out of his head.
Yeah, sirens draw
That's
people
fair.
in, and then as soon as the voice thing came up, I kind of like, oh, okay, well now I know. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Because
Yeah.
sirens have like this beautiful voice that like
Magical
inlures
voice.
people. You know,
Yeah.
so and clearly she's covering her neck, probably I don't know scars or, it was just too much. It was giving away a little too much. Like I felt like I knew what it was before we even started to kind of pick up.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like it was really cool. I loved the
It was.
idea.
I enjoyed that.
I
Yeah.
I think it was great. It was written pretty well. Like it just I think if you gave this a once over and just flushed out some of the character a little bit in the start, like kind of flush out that whole part a little bit. Also, there's a couple questions I still have. Why were they trapped there? For one, for two, was he the actual father? Like, was that actually her father, or did he just kidnap?
Yeah.
Because I don't get like why are they there then? You know what I mean? And why is he
Yeah.
torturing them? Like, what is going
I
on
feel
here?
like I feel like he came across like this siren mermaid creature, like probably ended up finding and saving her, and then just like didn't want to like release her, kind of, and then ended up doing a whole bunch of shitty shit.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. Is like, but did he get her pregnant, or was she
I'm thinking.
already pregnant? There's just like I have a lot of questions, and I mean you don't need to answer all my questions. Obviously, that's part of story writing. I
Yeah,
just think there's some things that need to be flushed out a little more. And if you want to leave that completely ambiguous, you can leave that if you want to leave it ambiguous. It just keeps people wondering.
that's fair.
But overall, it was great, and we have another one of your stories that you've sent us, and we are gonna read that. So
Hell yeah.
I hope everyone enjoyed this and enjoyed us struggling.
Yeah, that's how
But
it is.
anyways, I hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
We will see you tomorrow.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.